Hello everyone! We are live for virtual paint night, and tonight we're going to be painting Dolphin Dream, this lovely, colorful underwater scene today. So I'll take a quick moment to introduce myself while people are tuning in. My name is Anna. I'm an artist based in Santa Cruz, California, and I work under my studio name, Follow the Sun Art. I do a lot of my own work, which I've been showing and selling for about 6 years. And it's all inspired by the ocean, nature, environment, wildlife, all kinds of things I find on my adventures when I'm out surfing or hiking. And I've also been teaching for about 2 years, doing these paint nights and other classes, and it's been a lot of fun. So yay, welcome. We've got some people tuning in. If you are here, see, I haven't done one of these in a while, but you've got the little comment section, so you can talk to me through there. So leave a comment, let me know your name, where you're watching from, who you're watching with, and also if you've taken classes with me before, if it's your first time, or maybe it's even your first time painting ever. I would love to know. Hi Gwen, good to see you again, even though I don't see you. You can't hear me. Let's see, I don't think I can change anything. Is your volume all the way up on thing? If anyone else is having an issue hearing me, let me know. Yeah, let me know. But yeah, anyway, this class is a little bit special. I thought it'd be fun to just continue offering a free one every once in a while for everybody. But this one I teamed up with Save Our Shores to talk about their annual coastal cleanup event, which happens every year, and it's the largest worldwide, I believe, cleanup effort. So everybody heads out on one day of the year to clean up their local beaches and rivers, everything that leads to the ocean, to keep the marine environment healthy by taking the plastic out of it. But this year it's going to be a little bit different since we can't gather in groups like usual. So the event is going to be running all September long, and people are encouraged to grab their family or their housemates and head out every Saturday in September to clean up your neighborhood, your streets, your local park, your shoreline, whatever makes up your happy place. And they have more information on their website too about doing it safely and the importance of collecting data and how to go about it so it can be as effective as possible. Okay, I'll try to talk a little bit louder since you guys are having trouble hearing me. Or actually, I'll plug my microphone in. You guys hang on a sec. I think that's usually what I do for this one, so you can hear me better. Okay, check 1, 2. Is that better for you guys? Okay, I'm gonna go through the comments here and see who's here. Jamie is back, welcome. Catherine from Montana, and Dina, happy to be painting with you again too. And Grace from Davis, California, first time painting with me, nice to meet ya. And Leslie from San Diego, Amy from North Carolina, Girl Scout, awesome. I heard there was a group of Girl Scouts coming, yay. Christine and Maddie in Gilbert, Arizona, second time painting with me, glad to have you back. Kellen from California. If anyone is just tuning in, feel free to comment with your name, where you're from, if you've painted before, if you've taken my classes before too. Gwen, you like my earrings? Thanks. They're by one of our local artists. Summit and Salt is her business name. And Tony from California with your husband. And Leslie Rose in Shingle Springs. You've painted with me a few times. Okay, much better, good. Going through the comments here. Yay. And Kat, yay. Kimberly from Pennsylvania. What part of Pennsylvania? I grew up in Philadelphia, but I haven't lived there in a long time now. I've been in California for like 10 years. Okay, Norrin from Seattle, Washington. And Jamie, your grandson, Brody, is here. Aw, 7 years old. Awesome. Sasha from California. Corin from California, first time. Cassie and Layla from Whittier. Hi, Sarah. And Lisa from Alaska. You can't paint. Yes, it will be recorded. And as soon as I'm done recording tonight, it's just going to stay up on my page in my videos section, so you can find it in there. And Sophie, aw, thanks for tuning in. I miss you too. Stephanie, Stella from Troop 777 from Southern Nevada, awesome. And Senta from Mississippi. Okay, let's see. We've got a lot of people watching today. I don't know if I'll be able to read everyone. Oh, we just got a few more. Sai from California Arts Academy. Ooh, art student or teacher. Kayleen from Riverside, and another group of Girl Scouts in Seattle. Kimberly from Reading. Norrin, you've painted a lot before. Senta from Mississippi. Excited to have ya. Okay. Cool. Okay, I think I got everything. But yeah, if you guys have any questions along the way, just type it out on your little keyboard and let me know. I know sometimes I go a little fast and stuff like that, so you can tell me if I need to slow down with the painting, or if you have any questions or need any troubleshooting. You can also let me know if you're using a different medium besides acrylics. I know I mentioned that you can follow along with anything, watercolors or colored pencils or whatever you have. So let me know and I can kind of adapt the instructions a little bit and techniques. But it should be pretty simple. So yay, glad to have everybody. We can get started. So I'll talk a little bit about the supplies that I have with me. And if you need to grab anything, you can do that real quick too. So you need something you're going to paint on. So I'm just using a stretched canvas. This is a 16 by 20 size, but you can use any size. It's totally scalable to any size and dimensions. And you can, acrylic paint, at least it's really versatile. So you can use it on a wood panel, glass, plastic, even a heavy paper like mixed media or watercolor paper would work. So super versatile. You can get creative, and I've seen some cool projects out of these paint nights too. And then you're going to need acrylic paint or whatever colors you're using. The colors that I'm going to be using are white. I always use a lot of white to kind of tone down my colors so they're not too vibrant. I have a phthalo blue. That's kind of my favorite pigment. It's nice and dark and gives nice and vibrant mixes as well. And magenta, I use that in place of red for my primaries, which are blue, yellow, magenta. This also just gives you more vibrant mixes, I've found. But if you have red, if you don't have magenta, you can use red. They're kind of interchangeable. And then I've also got some yellow, our last primary color, so that's all I'm using. And I've got it laid out on my palette. It's a little messy from my last Friday's session, but what I like to do is have my white in the middle for easy access to all the colors, and then the colors around the outside. So I've got my magenta, yellow, and blue over here. I also have brown and turquoise. I'm not going to use those, so just ignore them. They're not there. And you should have a few brushes. So I like to have a larger brush. This is about 1 inch thickness. Brush sizes are not standard, so they'll all have a different number on them. But anyway, it doesn't matter too much as long as it's a larger brush for filling in the canvas pretty quickly and efficiently. And I like the flat brushes because they're versatile, because you can use them the wide way or the thin way to get different effects. And then I have a medium flat brush, so that's like a little bit smaller than the first one. And that's good for getting a little bit more detail and texture once we've covered up the canvas with paint for layering and kind of building up our colors and textures and stuff. And then I have a smaller brush for the final details at the very end. And you should have a jar of water. If you're working with acrylics, you want to keep your brushes in the water while you paint. Otherwise, the paint dries out really quickly on the bristles and it's really hard to clean off. So you do just leave them in the water and give them a really good cleaning with some soap and water after the session. And obviously something to put your paint on, your palette, maybe some rags or paper towels to dry your brushes on so they don't get too much water after you wash them. And if you want any snacks or drinks or anything, that's fun too, because we'll be here for a couple hours. Should go till 7. Okay, let's see, I got a couple more questions here. Cassie can't wait to paint. Me neither. All this talking, I know. And Catherine here, Vivian, the meeting idea. Okay, this is just on Facebook Live. I'm not doing Zoom today. So this is it. This is the video. This is the class. But yeah, any questions you have, just type them in here. And Sarah, the same regular colors, white, yellow, magenta, and blue. And if you haven't done something like this before, I know some people it might be a new thing for you. So it's simple, like step-by-step painting process. So I'll show you all of the techniques and color mixing and everything as we go along. So you're going to learn a lot if you're new to painting. And if you do have some experience with painting, you can totally get creative and change up the composition or the colors or anything you want. You can put your own spin on it. I always encourage that because everyone has their own creative ideas and you shouldn't hold back. But if you're new to it, you can just follow along with my instruction and let me know if you have any questions along the way. And it's very beginner friendly and fun. Okay, so I think we can begin now. So I'll scoot you guys a little closer so you can see my canvas better. And we've got the little sample painting in the corner, which you guys can refer to. You can also pull up the image on your browser or wherever you're watching from as a reference to go for the finished piece. But the way we're going to do this is we're going to just paint the background first. So we're going to do that gradient from yellow, orange, magenta, all the way down to that deep dark blue and create the little effects in the background. And then we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to layer our dolphins on top of that with a second layer. So if you are not using acrylics, you might want to plan a little bit more and maybe sketch out the dolphins first so you can work around them, especially if you've got like colored pencils or watercolor or something like that. You won't have that ability to layer over top of the background color. Okay, and Susan asked an alternative to the blue. You can use any blue you have. Phthalo is just my preferred pigment, but any blue will work. And Vivian asks if we can wait 1 more minute. Yeah, maybe 1 minute, but I know I've been talking a lot and I'm sure people are ready to begin. Let's see. Okay. And if you need to catch up to anything, you can just let me know. I can talk through it again. But we will begin now. So I'm going to start with my biggest brush to work on that large background area. Just kind of drawing it off right now. And we're going to start from the top and work our way down. The first color I have in that little corner is like a very pale yellow. So we're going to do some mixing on our plate. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of white and put it down here. My turquoise is dry, so that's not going to lift up. It's just kind of on there. But I'm just mixing up the yellow with a little bit of white to get a lighter version of that. And the white also helps with the opacity of the paint. So a lot of times when you put the paint on the canvas, it's kind of translucent on its own, but if you add white to it, it'll cover up the canvas better. So it helps intensify your color a little bit. And also keep it on the lighter side. Oh, now I got like some turquoise in there. So it's a little greenish. Oops. That's okay. Okay, and we're gonna make kind of a diagonal line in the corner here. So we're not going all the way to the corner, but starting kind of in the middle here and painting this little triangle of the corner with our yellow. Yellow and white mixed up. So you get a nice pale color for that bright corner. If you guys want to paint the edges of your canvas as you go, that's a good idea too. It makes it look nicer once it's hanging if you have edges. It's handy just to go with the colors that you have and kind of let them wrap around the canvas. Other side. And you kind of want to try to use long brush strokes in this whole background section. Sometimes you'll find if you do shorter strokes, you'll lift up the paint where you press the paintbrush down. So in order to avoid that, you just brush from one edge all the way to the other edge. And we are going to be doing some blending for the whole background, so you want to work a little bit faster before the paint dries out. Once the paint dries out, you won't be able to get the blending effects for that soft transition. If the paint is dry, you'll kind of get a hard edge where you lay the paint down. So I'm just going to move right along into the next color, and if you need me to go over anything again, just let me know. But my next color is going to be an orange, kind of following the colors of the rainbow. So we'll go yellow, where is it, orange, magenta, and then down into the blues. So our magenta we can make by getting some yellow and a little bit of magenta. And when you're mixing your colors, most of the time it's not a 1-to-1 ratio because some pigments might be more intense than others. So you just kind of want to eyeball the proportions and start with a little bit and then add more if you need it. So I just had maybe like 1/4 of the magenta and 3/4 yellow, and I got a pretty nice orange with that. So I'm going to pick that up on my brush. I haven't rinsed my brush yet because the yellow's already in there. It doesn't matter too much at this point. And then I'm going to grab my orange, take a nice big scoop of it, and lay down a line of that orange right below the yellow. I need to mix a little more. Okay, and then to blend it into the yellow, I'm just going to slowly, with that same brush direction, side to side, move up into the yellow and then down into the orange, and then that'll soften the transition. So that's how you blend with your acrylic paint. And just keep brushing over it until you get a nice soft transition between the colors, but careful not to overblend either. Because if you blend it too much, it'll all turn into one flat color. But see there, you get a nice soft transition, and then just leave it. You don't want to work with it too much, or else it'll kind of lose its effect. Okay, and then our next color is going to be magenta. So I still haven't rinsed my brush. I'm just going to pull off a little magenta and add a little bit of white to it for that opacity. And then do the same thing and paint a little line underneath the orange and blend it in. Yeah, and take your time with this background. I'll take a nice break after I filled in my whole canvas so we can all catch up whatever pace we're working at, so no rush at all. So yeah, doing those long strokes from one edge to the other edge, and then getting that soft blend by brushing into the orange a little bit and back down into the pink. I got the idea for this painting from a photograph I saw of some dolphins swimming under the water, and it had that like rainbow gradient where the light was shining through. I thought that was really cool. It is kind of tricky because you've got all the colors stacked together, and if you're not careful, if they all mix together, they can turn to kind of like a muddy color. So just kind of be careful and don't jump around too much. So if you've got like yellows and magentas working together, you can keep those together, and you don't have to rinse your brush too much. But then once we get into the blues, then you want to be careful not to bring that up into the yellow and pink, because all three colors mixed together makes like a brownish gray kind of color. So we kind of want to avoid that for this scene to keep the colors nice and vibrant. Let me know how you guys are doing too. If you need more time or if you're follow along pretty well. I'll move into my next color. This time I will rinse my brush because we're going to start moving into the blue. And to rinse my brush, I'm just going to kind of swish it around in my water, really smash the bristles down at the bottom of the jar to agitate all that paint off, especially with these big brushes. They hold a lot of paint, so you want to make sure you get it all out. And then I just kind of wipe my brush on the edge to get the excess water off, and then I'll dry it off on my towel so it's not too soggy. Yeah, if there's too much water in your brush, what can happen sometimes is you'll get drips down your canvas, and those are kind of hard to fix, especially if you already have some paint on there. Okay, so our next color is going to be white to kind of soften that transition between the pink and the blue. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white on my brush, and that'll be our next color. You won't be able to see it because my canvas is white, but it'll help to kind of blend it into the pink a little bit. Since the pink does have some orange in it, that's exactly what I was saying about the colors kind of all mixing together and getting mud. So this will help you avoid that. If you just put that little white line of white in between, it'll buffer the colors from getting too gray. Same technique, just these long strokes to kind of blend that all together. Okay, and then I'm going to rinse my brush again, and we'll move into some of the blues. Okay, so our next color is going to be a pale blue. So we're going to mix our blue and white to get that. And then we'll be able to go darker as we get to the depths of the water. Okay, so I got a nice light blue there on my brush. Take a big old scoop of it and spread it around like cake frosting. And then I can blend that into that line of white, and it'll almost touch the pink right there. So see how that kind of buffered the transition so our colors didn't get too yucky or anything as we were blending. Okay, so then after that light blue, we're just gonna gradually get darker until we get to the bottom of the canvas. So I'm gonna just add a little bit more blue to the color I was just using to darken it. And then that'll be my next layer to blend in. And then just continue on down, getting darker and darker. And when you get to the bottom edges, you can even come full circle and add in a little bit of pink, and then you'll get kind of like an indigo. The pink and the blue will be just slightly darker than the blue by itself. So that's a way to like take it that extra level when you get to the bottom. I do tend to avoid using black in my paintings because they're kind of sneaky. The black paint can be really sneaky, and it'll just like creep into your whole painting and turn everything like black and dull and gray. So it's better to kind of find ways to mix dark colors instead of just using black. But if you wanted to go like really dark at the bottom, you could put in just like a drop of black, very little bit, and that'll also help darken the color if you need it darker, if you're having trouble with that. I did put a splash of pink in my blue just to get a little bit darker. Need some more paint. And another little trick, if you are having trouble kind of covering up the canvas with a really intense color, like a really dark blue, for example, then you can go over with a second layer and that'll help. Sometimes that's all it takes. And like I said, the paints can be kind of transparent a little bit on their own, so you'll still see the canvas through. So in that case, like a second coat of the dark blue, at least over the dark areas, the top section should be fine. Or you can do the whole thing if it all like needs an extra little touch of coat. Shweta, I hope I'm not saying your name wrong, but you said you love the art class. Thank you. I love that everybody's here watching. So fun. We've got such a big group. 75 people is what it tells me. And if anyone missed my little introduction at the beginning when I just started my live at like the 1 minute mark, I don't think everyone was tuned in for that, but my name is Anna and I live in Santa Cruz, California, right by the beach, so that's what a lot of my inspiration comes from. I love to go surfing and hiking and spend my time outdoors and kind of get my inspiration for paintings for that. And besides teaching classes, I have my own work that I've been showing and selling for about 6 years. It's all under my studio name, Follow the Sun Art, so you can always check out my website, followthesunart.com, to see some of what I do. And I do teach a lot of classes too. I've been doing a lot of online stuff this year, which has been different but fun to connect with a lot more people all over the country and even other countries too. So yeah, that's been cool. And if you guys are interested in taking more classes with me, you can definitely let me know. Send me a message or an email, or just check out my website. I have all my information posted around everywhere. Okay, so getting a little bit tricky in the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm getting that canvas showing through. It's not like quite as dark as I wanted. So I might let it dry a little bit and then maybe do another touch up. How's everyone else doing on their backgrounds? Let me know if you need a few more minutes. And Swati asked if you can dip your brush in the water sometimes to spread the paint. Yeah, you can definitely add a little bit of water to the acrylic paint to help it spread around easier. Sometimes it's hard to, like, if it's really viscous, to spread it around the canvas. But if you add some water, it'll make it more fluid, which helps a lot. Just be careful not to add too much. If you water it down too much, then it kind of affects the resins in the paint and might not dry properly. So just a little bit of water is fine. Not at all a problem. Good question. Okay, so let's see. After this, I do want to do a little touch up on the bottom to intensify that blue. I already got blue paint all over me. And then we've got those little like rays of light coming down, so we can do that part next also. And Dina, yes, if you add a little magenta to the blue, that'll help darken it slightly. And Cassie, you're welcome, and thank you for being here. I'm getting some little angry faces. What's that about? Please let me know if I'm doing something wrong. Okay, so I'll show you guys real quick how to get those effects at the top of the water. Some little reflections, the sun shining through. So the first effect is pretty simple. I just put in some white lines on that top section to create a little bit of like movement and texture at the very top. So let's see, I got my big brush, but I might just switch to my medium brush for a little bit more control over those smaller areas. And then I'll just grab a little white paint, and I'll actually add some water to it, just so it's more workable. Especially this paint that I've had, it's been sitting out for a while, so it's starting to dry up a little bit. I'm kind of surprised it's not dry because I have it out since last Friday, since our Pelican class that some of you attended. But yeah, so my paint is still wet on this plate, so I'm just adding a little bit of water to help make it more fluid on my medium brush. I'm going to be careful not to load it up with too much paint because I want it to be kind of easy to manage. If there's too much paint, it can kind of come off in a big glob. So to avoid that, you just don't load up your brush with too much paint. And so I'm just going to go in and add these little like horizontal strokes, kind of like very random in this top section. So between the pink and the yellow. And that's kind of like the surface of the water where the light is shining through. And same, if you imagine the same thing, like if you're sitting above the water and see like the little ripples on the surface of the sea, that's kind of what that effect is. And that's what a lot of painting is too. You're not like capturing things exactly as you see them, but finding little techniques and tricks to kind of capture the effect and kind of give a suggestion to what it looks like or the texture. rather than like going in with every detail. So you saw I did that with just like a few quick strokes. You can take your time with it, but you want to keep them like kind of randomly spaced. You can make some of them kind of zigzag down. And try not to be like too tight with these sections too, with the water, because it's very like free flowing and organic. You can try to like use your whole arm in the movement rather than just your wrist. Really dive in. Okay, and Christina needs a little bit more time. We will have a little intermission so people can finish up their backgrounds wherever you're at before we move on to the dolphins. And, okay, Sarah, what I just did after adding water to the paint, to my white paint, then I just took it up on my little medium flat brush here, and I made these random strokes on the pink and yellow parts, so they're kind of moving with that same direction. Some of them kind of like squiggle up and down, some are just the stroke going sideways, but they're very randomly spaced and uneven to create that texture of the water on the surface. Okay, so we can spend a few more minutes on our backgrounds. I'm gonna just touch up my bottom here with another coat of blue. In the meantime, and wherever you guys are at, just keep on working on the water, on the little reflections. Got a few comments. Sasha said, "You're having fun. I am glad, yay." And Christina said, "Nice." Robbie said, "So awesome. Can't wait to see your paintings when you guys are all finished." Liz is watching. Hi, Liz. Are you painting today? All right, so I think this would be a good time to take a little break for a few minutes. So I do want to let my background get like pretty mostly dry before I layer on the dolphins. I know some of you might still be working on your background, so I'll give you some time to catch up. And when you guys are ready to do the layering, just leave me a comment letting me know that you're ready, and then I'll kind of know where everybody's at and if we can move on. But in the meantime, I'll tell you a little bit about the annual coastal cleanup, which I mentioned at the beginning. So normally it's one day every year. It's like the largest cleanup effort. I think I want to say worldwide, but maybe it's just in the United States or North America. But anyway, it's a cleanup event. So from the mountains to the sea, we are all connected, and everything drains down to the oceans. Where the dolphins live and other amazing sea creatures. There's a whole world down there. But so yeah, wherever you're at, you don't even have to live near the ocean to make an impact on it. But if you just go around your neighborhood, your rivers, your parks, and clean up trash, that'll make a big difference. And so to participate in the cleanup event, which instead of like one day a year, like it normally is, it's going to be every Saturday in September, and you go out on your own. So we're not gathering in large groups, obviously. But so the first step to get involved is to gather your group that you're with, your housemates or your family, and you can go online to saveourshores.com, and they have a whole page with resources and information on doing it safely. You know, like for example, what to do if you find something sharp or hazardous, stuff like that, and just other safety protocols. I'm not the expert on that, so they are a trusted source for safety information, so you want to review that before you participate. Safety first. And then the second most important thing is collecting data. So without data on what's polluting our environment, we wouldn't be able to make policy changes like banning plastic bags and straws and stuff like that, which are big polluters. So that's where the data comes in. And so there is an app, I'll show you guys on my phone real quick. It's called the Clean Swell app, and it's made by the Ocean Conservancy. And so you can download it, and it's got a little sea turtle. So you basically make a little account on there, and then you can start your cleanup, and you can, you can put all your information in, and that'll collect all the data. And I also just saw in one of their emails that their sponsors this year, they're gonna donate based on the cleanup efforts. So it's $20 for every piece of trash. That'll go to Save Our Shores so they can continue their environmental stewardship efforts. And then $10 for every cleanup and $5 for every mile cleaned. So even if you can't financially contribute to Save Our Shores and other nonprofits that are organizing cleanups like this, just going out there and picking up the trash and collecting the data will help them get the resources that they need, which is super cool. And awesome of their sponsors, which I think are Driscoll's Berries and Blue River Technology that are doing that. So that was cool to read about. But yeah, basically you go to the website saveourshores.com, and they have all the information on how to get involved every Saturday in September, or whatever day works for you for that matter. It doesn't have to be Saturday. I know our beaches in Santa Cruz and Monterey are closed this weekend anyway, so we might just have to clean up the neighborhood for now. And let's see, we got some questions here. Okay, some people are not ready, and a few of you are ready for the next step. Loving this class so far. Glad you are, Jamie. Liz Sumner, yes, the video will be up on my page as soon as I'm done recording, so you can watch anytime. And Betsy and your husband and daughter, you're having a blast. Thank you for participating. And Brody said that you're loving the class too. Awesome. Okay, so you guys are ready. Okay, cool. And also another thing about the cleanup, if you don't feel it's safe to go out or it's uncomfortable for you, you don't have to. There are other ways to get involved. You can still check out the website and learn about environmental impacts that we can make a difference with. Okay, my voice. Okay, Shweta, I'm sorry that you're not having fun. If you can, let me know how I can help. If it's like some kind of troubleshooting, I can talk you through it. I know it's a little hard because I can't help you in person or see what you're doing really, so I'm sorry about that, but let me know if there is a way that I can help guide you in your painting. Sarah, your painting is dry. Okay, cool. So yeah, you can see mine, it's like still a little shiny in the corner. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but just like mostly dry for the next step. Oh yeah, and I will post the details for the cleanup information I just talked about But yeah, the organization is called Save Our Shores, and you can go to their website, which is saveourshores.com, and they have all of everything on their page, including the app, which is called Clean Swell. Okay, so we can move on to the next step. Let me just get my music back on, otherwise it's kind of quiet and lonely here in my little garage studio. Okay. So I'm going to do one more little thing before we do the dolphins. I'm going to take my big brush and we're going to get those little beams of light shining through the surface. Just real quick, I wanted the background to dry before I did that too, because the technique I use for that is called dry brushing. So it's, we're basically going to load up our large brush with just a little bit of paint. You can practice on something else, like a piece of paper or something first, if you are a little bit nervous about doing this, because it is kind of nerve-wracking a little bit, because we've painted this beautiful background. We don't want to mess it up. And you can leave these little beams of light out if you want, but if you want to take on a little challenge, learn something new, then you can follow along with me for this step. But you can see how I loaded up my brush. There's like hardly any paint on there, just the very tip, and I even like wiped it off a little bit. And then I'm going to do a little test run to see how that goes, and then maybe I'll need to adjust the amount of paint on my brush. But anyway, I'm going to start with like one of these horizontal lines, and then just make a little stroke down like that. Just one quick stroke, do it fast and straight, and then I'll load up my brush with paint again. And then maybe I'll take it from this line this time and do the same thing. Real subtle. And then I'm kind of thinking about like a radial pattern. So the ones that are out on the corner, they're going to be slightly angled. Then down here, they're going to be kind of straight. And then they'll kind of go slanted again on that side. So imagine there's like one source of light coming, like maybe from my lamp, for example. And then they're all kind of like radiating out from that one point. And how am I holding my brush? The same way I normally hold it, but it's the flat way, so you can get a nice thick line like that. But you can see, you might find your own technique. I think it's probably doable like the vertical way. You'll just have thinner lines. But yeah, the technique is dry brushing, so it's not like a full stroke of paint, but you can see it's, I'll give you guys a close-up, it's like very translucent, so you still see the background through it. There's just like a little streak of paint. A very quick and simple stroke, but you do have to get like the little details right, the preparation. And I left a little space in between all of them so they're not too stacked, but you can see they start and end at different points, so it adds a little bit of variety there. But yeah, there's a little close-up of the dry brushing. Let me know how that goes for you. It is kind of like an advanced technique. Looking a little pink, Vivian. I got a little bit of blue in mine because I have some wet paint here. Kind of brought it back up there. But it's okay, you know, little imperfections. All our paintings are going to look different too. That's kind of the beauty of it. So don't stress if it's not just the right color or anything else that might be imperfect about it. Okay, you guys ready to paint the dolphins? Okay, I'll assume yes. Okay, so for the dolphins, they're kind of, when you look at them, they might seem like complex shapes to paint, but they're actually pretty simple. You can find simple shapes and kind of piece them together like building blocks. That's what I like to do, how I approach all of my paintings, is just to simplify and then kind of work out the details. And so for the dolphins, basically their bodies start with an oval, like a really long oval, and then you just add a nose, a tail, and the fins. So super simple. And I'll show you guys how to do that. Let's see, what color should I use? I'm going to go with like a light blue. We're going to cover up the lines anyway, so it's not super critical what color you use, but something that's not super contrasty. I'm just going to use this light blue, kind of similar to what I have in this area, in case it ends up like imperfect. We can do little touch-ups to fix it up. Okay, sorry, reading the comments here. I see a few yeses and a few nos and waits. But yeah, wherever you guys are at, just take your time, don't rush. You can always replay the video if you missed anything, and just catch up wherever you are too, because the steps will be here. Okay, so for the dolphins, so I have 3 in this scene. You can get creative with composition. You can do 1 or 2 or more, however many dolphins you want. Okay, and I might start just with this back one and kind of place them here. So it's a really long oval to start. Let's see, proportion wise. Yeah, it might be like about, let's do a little proportion. So I just did a little grid in here. And I like to take my brush to measure sometimes, so I have like the height of the oval here, so that goes up to like here on my brush, so I'm just going to hold that spot, and then it's about 1, 2, 3, so it's about 3 times as long as it is high. So that's kind of the proportion you're going for, so it's not too circular, it's like a really long oval. And I'll leave one outline for anyone that's needing to catch up, so you can refer to that in the meantime. Okay, and then the tail, it can either go up or down. You can kind of mix it up how I did in this one. So I made one go up, one go down, and one kind of straight. So yeah, the tail is just an additional triangle on the back there. And then kind of curves to the sides and then meets in the middle. So there's that half circle shape, and then those kind of like finny shapes on the very end. Kayleen says she uses chalk. That's a really good idea. I know artists that do that. So if you have chalk handy, you can just sketch it out with chalk, then it'll wipe right off if you need to make any adjustments after sketching it out. Okay, and then the top fin, the dorsal fin, we know what that looks like. Kind of a little point and a curve, so that'll be kind of like right in the middle of the body. And then we've got a little nose that kind of extends from the bottom. It's more like a beak, I guess. It's kind of on the short side there. And then we've got the little side fins, which they kind of line up with the front. If you make a line from this fin down, then that's going to be the back of that fin. And there's two, so you can make another little one in the background. Okay, so pretty simple. I'll just go over what I have there again. So we started with an oval that's 3 times as long as it is high, a little bit of proportion there for accuracy. And then to make the tail, you just make another triangle shape coming off of the back of the oval. And the fin is like a half circle with a little curve going down to the center. And then there's a little fin up here, little fins down here that kind of line up. The front of this fin lines up with the back of these fins on the bottom. Okay, and then there's just a little nose at the front that kind of extends from this straight line on the bottom of the oval. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw in my second and third dolphin, and then I'll fill those in, and I'll leave this outline for anyone that needs to refer to it in the meantime. And you can also angle your ovals, add a little variety in there, like maybe some of them are swimming up a little bit more or down even. And you can also like overlap them to create a little bit of depth in your scene too. So there's some options for creativity, and also just wherever your dolphins fall too. Just know you can overlap them a little bit and angle them to make them fit into the scene. And Vivian, I saw you said you went to a beach today. Awesome. I didn't get to go today, but I went yesterday and actually saw a pod of dolphins. It was a little family, and usually they just kind of cruise by the coast and you don't see them again. But this little family, they were going back and forth, right, like where the waves were breaking. So I was watching them with my daughter, who's 2.5. She got a little bit bored by them, but I wanted to watch them for a long time. There was even a little baby in the group too, so I don't know, maybe they were teaching it how to fish or something. But it was really cool to watch them. I haven't seen a dolphin in such a long time. And back in my kayak guiding days, I used to go out on the Monterey Bay and see like these super pods of hundreds of dolphins and whales breaching, and it was like the most magical time of my life. But I haven't done that in a while either. So just sketching in my 3 dolphins for now, and then we'll proceed to fill them in afterwards, after we have them all mapped out. Yeah, and definitely let me know if you guys have any questions or anything you need help with any part of this. Okay, 3rd dolphin, where should we put you? It's helpful sometimes too to take a step back from your painting to kind of see the composition overall, look at it from a distance. Sometimes if you're looking at it close up for a long time, you start to like notice things that stick out, or you kind of get sucked into these weird details. So definitely recommend taking a step back to look at it, and also get your people that are with you, your friends and family, to give you feedback. You guys can help each other too. I think I'll make this one go kind of down. You can play with different proportions too. I made this one a little bit smaller, just so it looks like he's a little more in the distance. Okay, so once you have your dolphins sketched in, either with paint or with chalk if you have that, then we can proceed to fill them in with color. And it'll take a couple of coats, so we'll kind of start with like a neutral base coat, and then we'll create a little bit of more dimension with a second coat. Let's see, I use kind of like a light blue. We want to mix like a grayish color, which is totally doable with these colors. Maybe you have gray in your collection of paints. You can use that if that's easier. But otherwise, I will show you how to mix it using our primary colors. So let me go off to the side here. So I'm going to just pull off a little bit of this blue and white. I have a little bit of brown there that's kind of convenient too. And I'm going to add a good amount of white to it to keep it on the lighter side so it's not too dark. And gray is basically all the colors mixed together, so then I'll add a little bit of pink and see how that looks. We get kind of like a lavender color. And then add a touch of yellow as well. It might turn kind of green. In that case, you can add more pink, so just constant adjusting. Basically, it's all three colors in some proportion will get you a grayish. It is going to be tinted sort of blue, so more on the blue side is fine. But I want to avoid green. A bit more pink. Okay, so we're getting a pretty nice gray color there. That worked. That's all three primaries, all the colors mixed together, white too. Stir them all up and adjust. And you might want to mix like a really big puddle of it because we'll need quite a bit. And since it's kind of tricky to mix, you might as well just mix a lot at once and then have it for the rest of the painting session. I like to make it hard for myself and mix a little bit at a time and then try to color match to that. So that's the more challenging way to do it, if you want to be like me. Okay, so then I'll grab my gray that I mixed up and start filling in my little outlines here. Let's see, I might add a little bit more white because that's looking kind of dark to me. So you can always adjust your color. Sometimes it looks different on the canvas than it does when you mix it. Yeah, and this first coat, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of filling in, covering up that background color as best as we can. It's all a process. And Sarah, if you have gray, you can totally use that out of the bottle as a shortcut. And maybe just to give it a little bit of color, you can add like a touch of blue or pink to it to make it not so like gray and dull, but just give it a little bit of color. But yeah, that is the easier route. And no problem with doing that at all. Don't forget all the flippers. Just fill it all in with one color for now. And then we'll do more. I've got a little bit of my background here that's still wet, so that kind of came out in my gray, that blue. But I'm just going to kind of spread it out, mix it in. And that's another reason we'll have that second layer in case our background comes out into our dolphins a little bit. And for those of you that are new to my classes, I do have a Facebook group as well. It's called Follow the Sun Art Club, and that's kind of where we post all of our finished pieces at the end so we can share with everybody, get feedback if you need it. And I also post updates on upcoming classes on there as well, and just general art and inspiration. Kind of a new group, so it's been fun getting to know people in there. And also just having one place where we can all see each other's art. Okay, so all filled in, and then you might have little sections where, let's see, I got like a little funny line here at the fin that I want to fix up. So those sections are tricky if you're going back into the background to make it like match everything that you have down that you did with those long strokes, like all throughout the canvas. So it's a little bit tricky, but if it's a simple color, you might be able to do some little touch-ups to cover up things that you don't like. Hopefully that's not too big of an issue, but you want to try to kind of like fill in everything you've sketched out to avoid that. So if you can fill in the subject, if it's like really something you need to change, then you can go back in and touch up the background behind the subject. Oh, Monica, I'm right-handed. Yeah, I always like forget this is a mirror image when I post the video. It's funny because I do the painting one way and I see all the dolphins going to the left. But then when I see the finished paintings from everybody, they're all opposite. So it's kind of amusing that it turns out reverse for some reason. I don't know why. Why does Facebook do that? Okay, so I'll let that dry for a minute before we do our next layer. Give you guys a few minutes to catch up too. And then we're going to go in and add a little dimension. So if you look at the shading, they're a little bit lighter on their bellies and darker at the top. And then I have more of those little squiggly effects on the dolphins too, to kind of capture the light streaming down from the surface. So yeah, that's all we have left. Just the second coat on the dolphins, little details to the eyes and the smiles as well. Jamie, I'm reading your comment. Brody had a blast. Oh, there it is. Okay, you can see the whole thing. Yeah, definitely good to step away from video games and make art instead. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, and I'm glad it encouraged him to pick up the paintbrush. Awesome. Can't wait to see your paintings. It's drying pretty fast for me. It's always different depending on where you are, but we've had a beautiful warm day in Santa Cruz. The sun came back for our Indian summer. We always get our summer in September, but the last 2 months it's been foggy, sweater weather, which is really funny. And then you just drive inland a little bit and it's like 90 degrees. Oh, Sarah, your dolphins look like sausages. They're kind of sausage-like. So funny. And Catherine said yours look like fish using watercolor. Yeah, watercolor is challenging, but yeah, you just gotta keep trying and practicing, and you always learn something as you go. Vivian, yours look like sausages too. Time for a barbecue. Okay, so since my paint is kind of halfway dry, I'm going to go in with the second layer on the dolphins. Hopefully you guys are ready, and again, no rush if you're still working or waiting for your paint to dry. Take your time and the replay will be available. But second coat on the dolphins, I'm going to mix up some more of my gray because I did not mix enough of it. And we'll kind of start with that and then create a lighter version and a darker version to get some more effects, which I'll show you how to do. Let me get this gray again. And Susan asked where will we find the video of this after tonight's class. It's just going to stay up on my Facebook page as soon as it's done recording, and you can find it if you go to my Facebook page, click videos, and it should be the first one there because it'll be the most recent. I'll also post it to YouTube. I just kind of cross-post them in case that's easier to watch from. I know that is the case for some people. So I'll post it up on my YouTube page too, which is also under Follow the Sun Art. Okay, so I got some more of my gray mixed up. I think that'll be enough, but maybe not. I might need to mix more. We'll see. And then remember that the tops are a little bit darker, so this color is already kind of dark on its own, so I'm just going to lay down a second layer of paint and clean up my edges a little bit, nice and carefully, still using my medium flat brush. kind of blend it into the color I had below that's still a little wet. Okay, and then I'm gonna get some white paint, not rinsing my brush, because it's all gonna blend together anyway, the color that I'm using. And then I'm gonna do some white on the underbelly here, just a little line, and then just do some very focused blending right here into the top part of the body. So kind of the same idea of what we did in the background on a smaller scale. So it's a little bit tricky because you have to kind of control your stroke and work in a smaller space. So it's a little bit tricky. But just remember, you can go back and forth. If your white kind of creeps in too much, you can get more of your gray color and then just kind of come in from the top and blend that in. Okay. And this fin here is kind of in front of the belly, so there's a break in that white spot. Just remember to keep that kind of on top. Okay, and then a little more white down here. Okay, so that gives us a little dimension. We get a sense of like the roundness of the dolphin's body. So yeah, just work on that. We'll do that to all of the dolphins. That'll kind of tie it together, and then we just have to do little details. And Sarah, I will repeat that step 2 more times so you can watch it again. But basically you just take the gray that you mixed and do another coat on the top, kind of clean up your lines and edges so they're nice and neat. You can see the difference between the two that I have. So I covered up those little sketches that I had initially, and then I did the white on the underside and blended it in with the gray, the same way we did the background. So just a nice soft transition. Here we go on dolphin number 2. of that blue creeping in from the background still. To give that a minute to dry. Let's see, got some comments. Susan said you're almost finished the second coat and ready for the white part. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I can demonstrate that on the top two dolphins since my bottom one's a little bit slow to dry right now. And Sandy said you're also basically finished and really like what you accomplished today. That's great to hear. Yay. Yeah, I can show you guys the details in case you're kind of like ahead of the game, and then anyone that's still working a little bit slower, I'll be here for you to catch up. And you know, I'll finish my little blue dolphin there later. Well, yeah, for anyone who's ready for the details, now we can grab our little brush. Okay, I got like a tiny amount of white left on my palette. Kind of got taken over by the other colors, but just working with what I have left here. So I'm going to take my little brush and I'm going to water down my white paint a little bit just to make it nice and fluid, easy to work with. It can be a little off-white too if it like happens to mix or pick up some other colors. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But yeah, just mix up like a nice fluid consistency, and then to load up my little brush, I like to kind of roll it on the plate to get the excess paint off, and then just dip the end of the brush in. So it's not super loaded up with paint. Same idea. You don't want to have like a glob of paint. That's hard to control. But if it's like nice and fluid paint and just on the tip of the brush, then it's easier to make kind of controlled lines with. But anyway, for the kind of reflection of the light on the skin, we're going to do a similar technique to what we did up here, just kind of like these quick, short, squiggly lines, just totally like randomly spaced and very organic movements. So yeah, if you're ready for that part, you can see how I do that. And not too many of these, just like a little hint here and there, you know. It might look a little funny when you're standing up close. Maybe a little bit back here too. But if you step back and look at it from a distance, it'll kind of give you that effect. But I'm looking at it right now thinking these strokes are a little bit bold and strange looking. But when you step back, then it'll look like what it's supposed to look like, hopefully. Doesn't always work out how we want it to. And Vivian, your paint is still really wet. Oh man. Yeah, sometimes it takes a really long time to dry. Just be patient. If you have a hair dryer, that's a good way to speed it up. But yeah, if you aren't able to catch up, I'll have the recording up, so you can always replay that. Okay, so we got the little reflections. And you can do it to all of the dolphins if you're kind of ready to finish up, and just do them all at once. Little assembly line on the tail too, maybe even a little on the flippers. Okay, and then I'm rinsing my brush, and then we're going to do the mouth and the eye. And for that, I want to pick up a dark color. So if you have brown, that's a good color to mix in. Since I have that here, I'm just going to pull a little bit. You can also just use a dark blue. But yeah, blue or brown, or blue mixed with brown, or black even. Just get a really dark color. That's all we need. It doesn't have to be any specific pigment. No rules. And I'm going to do the same thing with loading up my brush, kind of roll the paint off and just get it on the end, water it down a little bit to get it nice and fluid. So I've got that dark color there. Oh, and Cassie said you can also put your painting outside to dry faster. That's a good tip if that's easy for you. Then definitely. Okay, so the mouth basically just goes through the little beak right there and in a little bit. just referring to my painting. So just a straight line from the nose in. If you want to make him look happy, you can like turn it up a little bit at the end. Just a slight angle there, and that changes the dolphin's whole mood. Okay, and then the eye is kind of in the middle here. We'll do a dark circle and then do a little white dot in there. So that's the details of the face. And then if you know my work, you know I like to do a lot of outlines in my work. Not too many, just kind of balance, but it helps things pop a little bit, stand out from the background. So that's a good thing to do if you feel like your dolphin is kind of fading into the ocean. Then you can add a little bit of definition to some of the details with a little bit of an outline. So what I did here is I just had a little outline on the bottom. You can also do like a white outline. I think that might look nice on the little underside, but maybe I'll outline the flippers here and just kind of define them from the body a little bit. Maybe around the tail too. Make that stand out a little. And with these small brushes, just a little tip for controlling them. The pressure you apply to the brush makes a big difference. I kind of hold it like at the very end here, so I have a lot of control, and also like resting your hand or your elbow for stability, that helps. And then as far as the pressure, the harder you press down with your brush, the thicker the line will be, and if you press down just ever so lightly with the end of the brush, it'll be a thinner line. So I'm doing like a very controlled stroke with my paint nice and fluid, so everything kind of comes together and helps you get control. And also the brushes you use make a big difference too, so if your brush is not able to get to a fine point like this one, then it's going to be really hard to get a fine line. Sometimes the less expensive brushes, they tend to like fluff out at the ends, so that makes it a lot harder to control your paint. Makes a big difference, the tools that you have. So if you're feeling frustrated, then it might not be you, it might just be the tools you have. So just don't be hard on yourself, whatever you do. Okay, I think on the belly I'll do like a little white outline, switch it up. And if anyone wants to get really into the details, this is like a very simplified version of the dolphin. But you can always look up a reference photo of dolphins underwater and see exactly how the light shines on them and the little details of their flippers and faces, and get like more precise in your painting. That's up to you if you want to do that. There's a little white line on the belly, maybe even at the top. You can play around with this, see what works. So yeah, those little outlines just help the dolphin stand out a little bit. You can see the difference between these two. So this one I just added the facial features and a little bit of an outline, and he looks a lot more finished than this one here, and this one still needs a lot of work. So we got the whole range. Yeah, I'm gonna stay on here to continue answering questions and finish up my own dolphins too. If anyone's finished and ready to go, I just want to thank you for joining me today. Remember to check out saveourshores.com and participate in the annual cleanup wherever you are. Just go out, pick up some trash from the sidewalk and log it in the app. So we have that data, and kind of clean up the summer tourists litter that always accumulates, especially in our area. We get a lot of tourism here, even with the pandemic. It's been busy. So yeah, there's that. Get involved in the cleanup. And if you want to take more classes with me, you can follow my page, check out my website. I have a Patreon where I run twice a month live Zoom paint nights. So it's a little bit more interactive because I can see your paintings and your faces. And those have been a lot of fun. Similar subject matter, a lot of like ocean inspired stuff, wildlife, nature scenes. So you can join me on Patreon for that. And I'll post a comment in the event page and under the video with this information, all of this information. There's so much. So yeah, you can continue painting with me if you had fun and enjoyed this class. Join my Facebook group, follow us on Art Club to share your finished painting and see what everyone else made too, and stay in the loop for future classes. And this class is free, but if you feel like contributing, you can either make a donation directly to Save Our Shores, or you can Venmo me. I usually ask $10 a class, and my Venmo is Follow the Sun Art. Easy to remember. It's the same. And all the donations will go to Save Our Shores for this class. So it's kind of a fundraising effort for them and to get awareness out about the cleanup event and what they do. So yeah, thank you guys for joining if anyone is heading out soon. Okay, Debbie from Arkansas just came in, catching up. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna continue working on my dolphins. If you guys have any questions as you go or want me to go over anything else, just chime in the comments down below, to the side, wherever it is. Check in on these comments. Oh, so many thank yous. Thank you from Sandy and Patty and Gwen, Elizabeth, Christine, SB, Sai, and Vivian. Thank you guys for watching and being here. Wouldn't be as fun without ya. And Sasha asked how to share your picture. You can either send it to me in a message or join my Facebook group, Follow the Sun Art Club, and post it in there. That's kind of our group of artists. We all share our work and inspiration and stuff. And Venmo is Follow the Sun Art. Okay, and Debbie, love painting, always looking for more ideas. Thank you for sharing your art with everyone. Thanks, Debbie. Sarah, you're getting tired. Feel free to take a break whenever you feel done. You can always finish it later. And Allison, Brienne, and Karina had fun. Yay. Glad. Awesome, guys. Susan, yes, I can show you the white part again, and the dolphin face. So for the white part, I won't be able to show you again, but I can go over the steps. So basically you lay down your gray at the top and you can clean up your lines, and then once you have that, you can pick up some white paint on your brush and make a line on the belly there, just leaving a space for the flipper to kind of connect to the upper part of the body. That's the only little break in that. And then you're just blending. So remember how we did those longer strokes, kind of like up and down to soften the edge from the gray to the white. The same technique we did for the background, it's just smaller and more controlled, so it might be a little bit harder. But that's the basic idea, is you just kind of blend it in from white to gray and make a little bit of a gradient, and that'll give it that dimension that it needs. And then for the dolphin face, you're just taking your small brush and you make a little line on the beak right there, and then a little eye right above where it ends. Okay, so I'm going to do my last one here. And then just do little outlines wherever it feels like it needs a little definition, and that'll help it stand out. Sarah, thanks for watching. Glad to paint with you again. And Phaedra, you only caught parts of the class, and your dolphins resemble well-fed sharks, but having fun. Okay, good. That's the most important thing, is that you're having fun. Yeah, I taught this class in person once, and it was fun to see all the different dolphin shapes and sizes, but you know, all bodies are beautiful, so it's okay. And Gwen says, so much fun. Thank you. Until next class. Oh, and you posted your painting. Awesome. I can't wait to see it. Enjoy your weekend too. And I'll see a lot of you guys next Friday too for our watercolor jellyfish. And Pauline, thank you for watching. Let's see, I see a lot of people are leaving now. We've got half a view remaining. So stick with me to the end. Just a few more details. Gotta do my little reflections. Oh, this is the white part you're probably referring to, Susan, that I didn't mention because I was thinking the other white part. But if you need to do the reflections, I'm going to show them to you on this last dolphin now. So I'm getting my little brush and watering down my white paint, kind of mixing it up, loading up my brush very carefully. And then it's just kind of like these little squiggly lines, similar to the strokes we had at the top here. Just on the top part of the dolphin, the top of their body, where the sun would be hitting and reflecting. Maybe on the tail too. Okay. Okay, and more comments here. Tony, nice couple activity. I'm glad you had fun. And Vivian is Sophia. Cool. I will remember now if I see you again on Facebook. So I think that's about finished there. If anyone has any last questions before I log off, feel free to let me know. And the very last step you want to do is make sure you sign your painting with your initials or your name. Not a necessary step, some people choose not to, but if you feel like you're finished, it's kind of like the finishing stamp is when you have your signature on there. So whenever you get there, take your time. You can always take a break too, sometimes that helps. If you're feeling a little burnt out, you can take a break, step back from it, and then catch up to any parts that you missed too. Just go at whatever pace suits you. Okay, and Leslie says, thanks so much. Great time as always. So glad you enjoy it. And Susan asked if I'm going to give you my third dolphin a second fin. I'm not actually. I made that decision. It was intentional to leave out the second fin. Just because I was thinking about like angling him a little bit. So this one I made him just like slightly turned this way, so you see like the top of him more, at least in my imagination. I wanted to kind of create that little variation. So you just see that fin, but the other one is hidden behind the body. That's why I left it out. Just something different. And Corin and Dina, thank you. Okay, so last thing is your signature. I'll just do my initials over there. And that is all. So I don't see any more questions. If you have them, I'll still have like one more minute. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is fun. This is like has been the highlight of my year, actually. All of these Friday night virtual paint nights. So fun to connect with everybody and be able to meet a lot of new people this way, kind of grow my community of art. I do this full time, so it's cool to make new friends and connect through art. And I know all of you guys love the ocean because you wanted to paint this dolphin scene and you care about the environment. Hopefully you'll do some beach cleanups. It's one of the simplest ways we can help our environment. And stay in touch if you're new here. Join my art club, share your art, take more classes with me. Stay in touch. Let me know. Keep me posted on your art journey and everything. So yeah, that's all I have to say. We've got a couple more questions here. Oh, dolphins or maybe tuna. Cool. You could turn them into tuna. And did I outline the second fins? You can. I kind of was not very consistent in mine. I outlined this one. I didn't outline this one. That one doesn't have one. So you can, use your own judgment, take a step back from it and see if you feel like it needs an outline to kind of balance with everything else. Maybe you want to outline the whole thing entirely, or maybe you just want to outline some parts to give a hint of an outline. Sometimes I like to go that route and just do like partial outlines so it doesn't look so like cartoony, but other times it's helpful if your dolphin kind of needs that definition to stand out from the background. Then you can outline the whole thing too. So it's kind of like the artist's choice. Since I can't see your painting right now, it's hard to give focused feedback, but I'll let you decide. Oh yeah, my signature is backwards. Okay. Cool, I think that's all the questions here. So again, thank you guys so much. So fun painting with you. And I will see you in the next class. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and healthy out there in this crazy year. Okay, bye everyone.